Actors, we've all got issues, so let's talk about them. You're listening to Actors with Issues, a self-help podcast for actors, by actors. Hello, ladies, gents, and non-binary friends. Welcome back to another episode of Actors with Issues, a self-help podcast for actors, by actors, featuring guests from TV, film, and Broadway. We take a deep dive into the world of entertainment and discuss what it means to be an actor today. I'm your host, as always, Juan Ayala, and today's guest is an actor you've seen in Riverdale, Batwoman, Nurses, and Mayor of Kingstown, and will star alongside a terrific ensemble cast in Netflix's highly anticipated Fear Street Prom Queen, premiering May 23rd. Ryan Rosery, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Juan. Appreciate it.
So before we dive into Fear Street, which I'm a huge fan of that series. I mean, putting out 3 movies like they did a couple years ago, growing up with R.L. Stine books and all of that, I'm such a fan of the series. But before we dive into that, tell us a bit about life growing up. How did Ryan Rosery get to where he is today?
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up single mother household. Something that a lot of people don't know about me that I found out when I was 12 is I've actually kind of like pseudo adopted. So the woman who raised me, my mother, she is or was married to my father. And my father ended up having an affair, and then I ended up coming into the world, and she ended up raising me kind of like as her own kid. And unfortunately, my dad got deported when I was 2 years old, and the woman that gave birth to me, she chose not to keep me. So she just raised me. So I was just me, my mom, and my sister. And growing up, I grew up in a place called Scarborough in Toronto, Ontario, small little town, well, big town, right, technically, massive town, just kind of like outside the city, very culturally diverse. And yeah, like my mom was a very religious person. So I was in church like 3 days a week, Sundays, Wednesdays, Fridays. So I had a lot of like religious background and upbringing as well. And I remember in the 4th grade, I was sitting down. I remember I was sitting down in front of a TV and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was on. And it was an episode where Uncle Phil was dancing with his son, little Nicky. And I remember Will running down the stairs and he was like, "Earthquake!" And there was like a little moment. And then Uncle Phil looked at Will. Will looked at Uncle Phil. And then Uncle Phil chased Will up the stairs. And my sister and my mom were sitting behind me. And I remember it's like, "Oh my God, that is amazing." So I turned around to my mom and I was like, "I want to do this for a living." But being an immigrant from the Caribbean, we come from St. Lucia. My mom was like, "That's not a real job. Being an actor, no, you got to be like a doctor or a lawyer." They didn't see that as like a real thing. So I kind of was like, "Oh, but like, I really like want to do that. I want to make people laugh. I want to make people smile." So throughout my life, I had always been the class clown. I'd always been the guy that always wanted to make people laugh and smile. And I remember even my my first day at a new school in grade 2, I said when they were like doing the attendance, they came around to me and they were like, "Ryan," and then I was like, "Eat my shorts," like the famous Bart Simpson line. See, it's funny, but the teacher didn't find it hilarious, so
Right.
I ended up having to stick around after school to get a talking to, be like, "That's not appropriate." But like I've always been the guy that likes making people laugh and smile. Um, let's fast forward now to high school, and uh, I remember trying to figure out grade 9, like, okay, I'm getting into high school. I mean, I'm getting into like life now. Here I am in high school. What do I want to do with my life? So then I started thinking like, okay, maybe I'll get into sports, or maybe I'll do journalism, or I'll even do social work. Like I was just trying to figure it out.
Mm.
And then as I didn't really take high school seriously. I was kind of like, "Oh, I got time. I got time." But then when the 11th grade came around, there was this girl that I had fallen in love with, and she had broken my heart. And I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get revenge on her for breaking my heart." And then I was like, I'm gonna become the biggest celebrity in the world. I'm gonna become famous." And then I got a hit with that memory. Boom. Let me go back to the 4th grade when I wanted to be an actor. And I'm like, "Oh, I can just act." So from that point on, I had basically started diving into trying to become an actor from the 11th grade after that little heartbreak. And here I am.
Yeah. Wow. Um, yeah, I mean, it's funny how, heartbreak and things like that at such an early age can really impact you so far into the future. I'm curious, have you had any roles so far that have, I mean, you did just do a high school movie, the Fear Street Prom Queen. We'll get into that in a bit. But have there been any projects where you sort of needed to channel that heartbreak or first love type of a situation?
Not yet, honestly. I
Mm,
haven't had the opportunity to dive into that, but who knows what the future holds.
yeah. And I'm curious, have there been any specific roles or experiences on set, or maybe like offset experiences that have really stuck with you and taught you something about yourself, about acting or filmmaking, the whole process of it all?
Yeah, so I it's maybe about 2 years now. I shot a Canadian indie called Morningside,
Mm,
which is loosely inspired off of true events. And in the scene, basically, there's an incident that happens, and one of our friends in the movie gets injured. And so, like, I had to kind of dive deep into the sadness
mm,
aspect of it and kind of having to tap into grief and loss and pain. So I that was something that I really had to like really dig deep within myself to bring out in a truthful, authentic way. And I found that to be a little bit of a challenge because I that's probably the most challenging role that I've had to do. Yeah, I would say that. There was another movie I shot that hasn't come out yet, but I would say that one, since it has come out, has been probably one of the most challenging. Just kind of like diving deep into that moment of like seeing someone I know get hurt so severely and
mm,
trying to figure out like, is this real? Is this really happening? And having to use the trauma or like not necessarily use, but remembering the trauma of losing my mother in 2021, rest her soul.
mm,
Just kind of like using that to tap in and tell the truth of what my character was going through at that moment in the scene.
mm. And fast forwarding to with Fear Street, which for folks listening, for folks watching, May 23rd on Netflix, Fear Street, Prom Queen. As I said before, I just grew up such a, when you're a kid in the 90s, you're kind of bound to be a horror buff.
Yeah.
Whether it is something like Goosebumps or Scream or the parodies like Scary Movie and, all of that. But I'm curious with this process. So I always commend actors who do horror projects. I find that it's probably some of the most challenging stuff, even though folks might not think so. But you're just keeping the emotions high and the stakes high, take after take. You're probably doing a ton of night shoots because what horror movie takes place during the day besides Midsummer? But yeah, what was that whole experience like? Did you find it particularly exhausting? Was it a bit liberating to just be able to get all of this emotion out? What was it like for you?
Big thing about me, my imagination is constantly on go. Like I'm the kind of guy that will stand in his mirror and do like poses for movie posters. Like I'm so prepared. I've been this way since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I'm such a playful person. Like I really do believe I was designed and destined to be an artist and a creative and to tell stories
Mm,
through my body, through the medium and the instrument of my body. Um, yeah, we did have a couple night shoots, so it wasn't too bad because we are high school, so a lot of the stuff was kind of in the day and because a lot of the movie takes place in prom, so because we're inside, it didn't really matter the time of day because of we were just inside, so I didn't have to really
right.
worry about um doing too many night shoots. I think we had maybe a couple like kind of going into the overnight shoots. But when it came to like the actual acting aspect of it, no, I personally didn't find any real challenges. I feel like I all my years of training and all the projects I have done and just kind of believing and manifesting for myself and just seeing the things that I wanted led me to this moment. So I think I was prepared for it, because Denzel Washington says, luck is when preparation and opportunity meet. And I do believe I was prepared and ready for the opportunity when it came. So I just kind of took it full throttle.
But yeah, with Fear Street, what would you say is like your biggest takeaway from the experience, having worked on the project?
How much people of this universe care.
Mm,
Like all from the creatives to the fans, people care about this universe. And I felt like I felt like I was holding, what's the word I'm looking for? Like I was being very protective of the intellectual property of what it was, but also making sure that I wasn't being like, well, I need to do what the other three movies did.
mm.
I need to do what Ryan does. So I wanted to make sure that I came forward and brought the best of what I bring to the table while also being respectful of what this IP is. I think that was probably my biggest takeaway. Just how much do people behind the scenes really care about it?
Yeah, and I think it shows very much in the movies. I mean, there was oh God, I'm gonna get the years wrong. It's in 1994, 1978, and then
94, 78, and 1666.
that one. Yeah, of course it's 666. That's it's a horror movie.
Right.
It's a horror movie. But yeah, I mean, you just see with how much like effort, like none of them were, in my opinion, none of them were like poorly written. They were all shot so well. The ensemble was great. It's funny because you'd think that with these films that because like oh it involves kids, it's gonna be like a bit like PG. Nope, they never
No.
are. Not this series. It's just because it's based on kids' books does not mean that they sort of hold back with with the kills and the gore and all of that. Do you have a particular favorite in the movie series so far? Obviously, the one you're in excluded.
Yeah, right, for sure. You know what? I really love 94.
Hmm.
94, that bread cutter death scene.
Oh God,
That lives in my brain rent
yeah,
free. Like I'll be like in the gym working out and I'll think about I'm like, man, that was a really good that was a really good kill, you know? So but I really like 94 just because I feel like that you didn't know what it was. You didn't know what you were getting into.
yeah.
The actors were great and shout out to Kiana Madeira. She's a close personal friend of mine.
Hmm.
Like shout out to her for what she did in that movie, kind of paving the way for the Fear Street franchising universe to be what it is. I also like 94 because it was very like the opening kind of was reminiscent of like the Scream movies.
Hmm.
And Scream is my favorite horror franchise of all time. And
Yeah,
like just seeing that comparison, I was like, oh, like, all right, I know I'm in for a treat. So yeah,
yeah.
94 really did it for me.
Yeah, and it really captured sort of that era really, really well, and just
Oh yeah.
what horror movies were like back then. I feel
Yeah.
like each movie really captured the era. Like none of it felt like, oh, this feels too modern. Like the 90s, 94 felt like a 90s horror movie. 78 felt like those early slasher films, and then 66 felt like those just those period horror movies like The
Yeah.
Witch and stuff like that. They
Yeah.
did such a great job. I'm so excited for folks to see this new one. And I do want to touch on your production company, BDB Productions, which you guys have already produced some great stuff. Some of it you've written, some of it you've produced, some you've been in. What was the motivation of starting your own production company, and what have you learned over the years developing these projects?
Yeah, so we all there's seven of us total. We all kind of got together through happenstance. Some of us knew each other from like just being in the industry and just kind of like meeting each other in audition rooms, and we just all connected over our love of anime and video games and having faith with each other. And so we kind of created it just kind of we weren't auditioning the way we wanted to. We weren't seeing the opportunities we wanted to see. We all wanted to play very dynamic, interesting characters. So we were like, oh, why don't we just kind of start creating our own stuff? And so we're like, sure, you know what? That actually makes sense. Like, why not? Like, there's seven of us. We all have brilliant minds. We all have different ideas. So we all decided to form BDB Productions, kind of come together. I remember in 2015, I created the group chat on WhatsApp, and then that's kind of where it formed. And yeah, we've just been on this beautiful path of creating and connecting with other creatives, getting together with other writers and producers, and just trying to continue to create our work and flourish and make what we have grow and become this beautiful, I guess, beautiful flower or tree that we're just trying to water and grow into blossom. It takes time. Things take time, and slow and steady wins the race for sure.
But we always have sort of our what we call our $1 million question. It's what pretty much every young actor who's starting out or is fresh out of school is curious about, and it is finding representation.
Hmm.
So it's like, how do I get my first manager? How do I get an agent? How do I get the ball rolling in my career? Because actors can only self-submit themselves so much, and you still don't have access to like the bigger auditions, the bigger projects. So what advice do you have for someone who's like fresh out of school and maybe feels a little bit stuck, or because the whole thing with acting schools and conservatories and all of that, you will learn such terrific technique and how to build a backstory, how to break down a script and all of that, but besides like a showcase, there isn't always a ton of resources on how to find an agent or sort of get industry connections that way. So what advice would you give to someone who's sort of in that situation?
Build with your community. Build with
Mm,
those that are beside you and around you. Everybody's like, oh, I want to work with Nolan. I want to work with Jordan Peele. I want to work with this big actor. And those are great desires and aspirations to reach for. But you want to build with the people that are kind of on their way up as well, that don't have as much experience, that don't have as much financial backing, because eventually you're going to end up being, or they're going to end up being the next Jordan Peele. You know, you look at
mhm.
what Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan have done from that
Yeah.
10-year stint of them working together. And I think and know and believe that building with community of those around you is the best way to start, and also being consistent and persistent. If you love it, if you truly, truly love it, you're gonna just hustle, and you're gonna, and when someone says no, cool, you come back again 6 months later. And if they say no again, you keep going back.
Yeah.
Eventually, a door will open. It may not be specifically that door, but there's no one way to do this thing. Like people think, oh, you got to do this, and there's really no one way. It's art is free, art is subjective. And so I say just keep going, keep knocking on the doors. Don't let the no's discourage you, because I've received a lot of no's, and I'm still receiving a lot of no's. But I love what I do, and I love the community that I have, and community really does help because I have people to lean on. So my two big things is community and being persistent
Mm.
and consistent. I guess that's three things.
Yeah. Yeah, consistency is something that I feel is not often talked about. It was a pretty big topic in the book, The Actor's Life, a
Mm,
Survival Guide by Jenna Fisher from The Office.
hmm
She wrote this terrific book, and she said that like the reason she got The Office was after living in LA for like 7 or 8 years and multiple pilot seasons, just nothing stuck. She got these little roles sort of going up, but these series regulars she was doing never, the pilot she was in didn't get picked up or whatever it was, and she was like ready to quit. But because she had a consistent body of work and consistently great auditions with Allison Jones, who ended up casting The Office, she was able to sort of have that opportunity. And yeah, you can't really treat it's important to not treat an audition like it's the biggest one of your life. This is the
Yeah.
one. If I get this one, my whole life's going to change. Have you sort of, at least early on, did you sort of struggle with that, finding that balance of like, let me not put too much pressure on myself, but also let's have some pressure, you know?
No, of course, that's so real. I used to put so much pressure on myself when I was younger. Just like same thing, thinking like, oh, if I book this thing, my life is gonna change. This
Mm,
is for all actors out there that think that role is gonna change your life. The role you think is gonna change your life is never the one that is actually gonna change your life. It's the one that you don't expect, that all of a sudden everybody's talking about it. Everybody wants to know who you are. It takes time. They say it takes 10 years to build a career, and it takes 15 years to be a working actor.
mm,
So it's like that you just don't know when it's gonna happen. You don't know how. Like dealing with the struggles of thinking if I'm good enough, dealing with the struggles of is this gonna be the one? Dealing with the struggles of not even getting auditions. There was a period where I didn't get an audition for 4 years. Or I didn't book a role, I should say. I was getting auditions, but I wasn't getting the good auditions. And
mm,
for 4 years, I was like, yo, what's going on? I didn't book a role for 4 years. And I remember I ran into a friend of mine in an audition room, and he was like, dude, how have you not quit yet? But it's because I really love this. I care about it. And kind of going back to what you were even saying about consistency, so I was in a program here in Canada called the CFC, which stands for the Canadian Film Center, which was created by the late great Norm Jewison. And it's basically a launch pad for a lot of Canadian actors, because it
mm,
connects you with a lot of people in the industry here. And so I had friends that had gone through the conservatory, and I was like, okay, I want to get in. And then I got nominated in like 2017. I didn't get in. I did it again in 2018. I didn't get in. I applied again, I think in 2019. I didn't get in. And then I was like, okay, you know what? No, I'm done. Like, I don't want to keep this rejection. But I experienced life. I went through things, and then I applied one more time. The last time I applied, boom, I got in.
mm,
Now, because I had gotten into this program, throughout the course, throughout the 6 months intensive, we have casting directors come, we have producers come, And the Canadian casting director for Fear Street ended up seeing my work in
Mm.
a session. And I've known him, he knows me, but now he's like, oh, he's in this conservatory. He's at the front of my mind. So then I ended up getting the audition, him coming around being like, hey, like, here's this opportunity for this movie, which I had no idea what it was. I had no idea that it was Fear Street. All I got on the breakdown was Prom Queen. I was like, oh, it's a high school movie. Okay, cool.
Mm.
And I did it. And because I look at it like because I was consistent and persistent in my pursuit of becoming a better artist, because I wanted to challenge myself and because I was interested in the craft and getting better, it led me to eventually getting this opportunity, which now I am on Fear Street, which I'm so thankful and grateful for.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's so refreshing and like sort of like motivating to hear. Like you just have, like you said, consistency and persistence. Like you didn't sort of apply to the school once and be like, okay, I didn't get in, womp womp, and that's it. Like, and on to the next school or whatever. You did what you had to do and just
Yeah.
sort of stayed persistent there. And yeah, and here we are, promoting a movie that you're about to be in for. I don't even know how many subscribers Netflix has. 2 billion. I don't know, something like
A
that.
lot. A lot.
But before we go, we always like to end with a quick game. So
Okay.
give us a number, one, two, or three, and that will determine the game we play.
Two.
Two. All right.
Yeah.
Two is it's time for life's big questions.
Okay.
If you could have any superpower, what would you choose?
That's crazy. I laugh because I have a podcast now, and that's one of the questions that I ask
Oh,
on it
work.
because I think about this on the daily. The superpower that I would want at this moment in time of my life is super speed. Reason being is because there's just so much I feel like I need to get done in a day,
Mhm.
and if I was able to just do my laundry quick, wash my dishes, finish editing, do my auditions, and still have time, yeah, I'd be happy.
Same. Even working from home and doing the podcast and stuff from home, it's still like not enough hours in the day. It doesn't matter where I am.
Yeah.
Just can't get
Yeah,
things done.
I need more than 24. Give me 36 hours. Shoot.
Right. If you weren't in the arts, what would you be doing for a living?
I think I'd be a teacher.
Mm,
Yeah, I think I would be an English and a drama teacher. I believe that the youth are our future, and being in a position to have the opportunity to shape young minds, I think is so powerful, and to be an inspiration to them and to guide them through life and through their struggles. Because being a teenager is hard, and I can only imagine how much harder it is nowadays. Because I grew up without social media, and they're like thrown into it right away, so they're dealing with so much more from self-identity to body issues to who they are as a person to what they want to do with their life. So if I could be someone to help them find out what their path is in life and also be inspiring and make them have fun and know that life isn't too serious,
mm,
yeah, I think teacher.
yeah. What any particular subject you would want to do?
Yeah, drama and English for sure.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I love English.
Mhm.
Am I the best with my vocabulary all the time? No, but I love learning new words. I
Yeah.
deliberately watch any streaming service, anything I'm watching with subtitles because I like seeing how people put sentences together and I love learning new words.
Mm,
So like I'll like see a word and I'll stop and then I'll like pull up on my dictionary and then I'll look up the word. Even in movie theaters, like if I hear a word, I'm like, oh, what does that mean? I'll like in the
yeah.
midst of the movie, I'll pull up my dictionary, like, oh, interesting. And then I try to incorporate it in my everyday vernacular.
Mm.
Yeah,
Like the word vernacular.
like the word
Um,
vernacular. I
what is your favorite way to consume art? Movie going, TV watching, concerts, museums.
love a good movie. I love going to the theater. I
Same.
think it's such a special place, and it's a great way to connect with people, even though you don't know the people sitting around you. But to know that we're all watching the same thing, they're all watching the same thing collectively in this moment at this time and laughing at the same thing, crying at it, being surprised by it. Like I think that's the most beautiful thing. That's my favorite way.
Mm. What is your ultimate comfort food?
Mm, popcorn. Yeah, so a little salted, buttery popcorn. Yeah, I love it.
What existing TV show would you love to join the cast of, and in what kind of role?
I would love to join the cast of One Piece, the live action on Netflix.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a character on there by the name of Trafalgar Law. I think he's my favorite character next to Luffy. I'm a big One Piece fan. I've been following One Piece since 2001, but I would love the opportunity to be on One Piece.
Mm. After a long week of filming, what do you do to unwind and recover?
If I can, I will take a trip somewhere. I'll go and just jump on a plane, go somewhere that I haven't been. I'll go by myself. If I can't, if I'm not able to do that due to whatever's happening in life, I'll just sit back, catch up on some TV, and yeah, hang out with my friends and my girlfriend.
And lastly, in 10 words or less, what advice would you give to a young actor?
Don't give up and believe in yourself and don't listen to others. Ooh, that's 10.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today, and congrats again on Fear Street Prom Queen. I can't wait for folks to see it. And if anyone wants to give you a follow on social media anywhere, where can they find you?
They can find me at Ryan Rosery. That's pretty standard. I'm almost certain across all my socials. So yeah, just look me up, Ryan Rosery. Thank you, Juan, so much for having me on the pod and just to like talk about life and what's
Yeah,
going on.
absolutely. And for everyone listening, you can see Ryan Rosary in Fear Street Prom Queen May 23rd on Netflix. Thanks for joining us. Actors with Issues is hosted and produced by Juan Ayala. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel or on the podcast platform you're listening to. Visit actorswithissues.com for exclusive news and reviews, and give us a follow on Instagram and TikTok at Actors with Issues.